going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we've got a Chicago Bulls and New Orleans Pelicans game reaction in which the Chicago Bulls once again were in a close competitive battle, but unfortunately walked away with another loss in a close game. And at the end of the day, we have seen a lot of this recently, and I don't think it's talked about enough. So today I'm going to talk about it. I have mentioned it before. Our fourth quarter offense has been something as of late that has been very, very disappointing, but we may be able to put some blame onto that. We could put a lot of blame on a lot of things, really, but we'll just get started on that game reaction. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the overall, I guess, play of the Chicago Bulls and the Pelicans. Who was your player of the game? Your overall thoughts and opinions on how well or how badly the Bulls played today. I personally thought the Bulls played well. They played all right. Unfortunately, again, it was a close game. We couldn't really get much of a lead going. We couldn't really get, I guess, that long run that we needed to actually walk away with a win at home. And that's all very, very frustrating stuff. But at the end of the day, I can't say that this Bulls team didn't fight. And I actually really do think the Bulls should have walked away with a win here. But nevertheless, we lost the game 115 to 111. You got to give credit, man. The Pelicans are a tough team as well. Again, all these teams that we've been facing, we've had a very, very rough stretch in terms of the start of the year. We've versed a lot of competitive teams, a lot of gritty teams. We've also versed the mediocre teams that we've lost to as well. So at the end of the day, the fact that, I guess the point I'm trying to say is this Bulls team, the reason why they're minus 500 right now, the reason why they're around 500 is because of the teams that we're actually facing. They do create a lot of problems, and the Pelicans were no different. I'm not going to sit here and say the Pelicans didn't play well. They played well. They had more bench points than us. They had 29 bench points, I believe. We only had 21. Not big of a difference, but in a game when we only lose by 4, that's a big difference there, ladies and gentlemen. And then, of course, their starters got going late. Brandon Ingram got going late. Zion got going late. CJ McCollum didn't really get going throughout the whole game, in my opinion. And again, this was a perfect opportunity to walk away with a win here. I feel like the Bulls should have and must have walked away with a win here. But unfortunately, we are sitting here talking about a loss. With all that being said, what are the reasons why we lost this game? Well, I'll get the one out of the way that I feel like a lot of people are going to turn to. Obviously, the foul calls and the referees in this game were not very good. And I think if you're a fan of both teams, you could arguably say that. But for the Bulls side of things, obviously the late call that wasn't given on DeMar DeRozan is one that a lot of people are going to turn back to. A lot of people are going to turn to that 2-minute report to see whether or not DeMar DeRozan got fouled. And personally, I think he got fouled. There was a hand on the back. Obviously, Zion as well. I'm not sure if Zion hit him, but nevertheless, there was still a foul on that back as well, and no call was given there. And then obviously that leads to Zion free throws. That changed the game. That's a big call that changed the game. We could have been up by 1, instead we fall down by 3. Big call there, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm interested to see what will happen. Of course, many people say the Bulls got robbed. We should have had this, should have had that. Maybe we'd be in overtime right now. I'm not sure. But that is obviously one thing. I obviously do think our fourth quarter offense and defense, to be fair, is fairly mediocre. And for a team that was supposedly one of the best fourth quarter teams last year, we've not shown it this year to that extent. Again, I believe my friend told me this. We are 0-6 in terms of games that really went down to the wire in terms of the Chicago Bulls or something of that nature. I'm not sure where he got it from, if that's even a statistical fact, but it does kind of reflect how many close games we've actually lost this year. I can list some of them. We've obviously lost to Boston. We lost to the Wizards. I'm sure the Spurs are counted in that category as well. Obviously the Pelicans. That's a lot of games right there in which the Bulls lost in close competitive fashion. And it is very frustrating, I can't lie. It does annoy me to the point where it doesn't get talked about a lot. We talk about our starts to games and how poor that was, and to an extent, we've kind of fixed some of those issues. Patrick Williams is obviously playing a lot better. Our starting lineup is starting to get more game time together, more fitness together, and they're playing somewhat well together. We had a good start to this game. I fully believe that. But our fourth quarter offense, our fourth quarter defense, our fourth quarter performance in general is not getting talked about anywhere near enough. The amount of lineup changes that we actually make in the fourth quarter as well, in which we don't know who's going to end the game. It's going based on form right now. These are all things that are big topics of discussion, and I do think, once again, we need to figure out how we're going to improve in that fourth quarter. We've got DeMar DeRozan, who we know is very clutch. We've got Zach LaVine, who wishes that he can be clutch, or I guess needs to be put in situations where he can shoot the ball. I don't really know, outside of 2 points in the fourth quarter, what Zach LaVine did in the fourth quarter. To be fair, Nikola Vucevic didn't have a great game today, but his shots were timely and they were in the fourth quarter as well. But we got to figure it out, ladies and gentlemen. We got to find a way to the point where we are the team that's leading in fourth quarters, and we can actually get our fourth quarters going, our momentum going in that fourth quarter. I don't think we've done that anywhere near enough, and I do consider that as part of the reason as to why we lost as well. So there are two things right there. Obviously, the refs, I think they are a big part of this, and obviously we'll see that 2-minute report to see what happens and things like that. Maybe they don't say anything about DeMar DeRozan, maybe they just don't think he got fouled, but from the replays, from I guess everybody's thoughts and opinions on it, it looked like DeMar DeRozan got fouled and they missed the call. But there was more than that, ladies and gentlemen. The Brandon Ingram kickout was a big topic of discussion. Personally, I think that's a foul on Javonte Green. I'm not going to lie, but again, a lot of people are going to have arguments on that. But they have missed a lot of calls, a lot of things. And of course, some are soft technical against DeMar DeRozan as well. These are all things you could put into consideration, but I don't think it's solely on the refs. I will never ever believe a loss is solely on referees. It's as simple as that. We had a lot of turnovers as well. That's a big topic of discussion for the Chicago Bulls, and one that has not, I personally feel like, not been talked about a lot either. The turnovers of this team has been somewhat of a bad stretch for the last couple of games, and to be honest, for most of the season we've had some fairly bad turnover nights. That has to be improved as well. So again, there are reasons why we lost this game. It may not be the main reason, but it's a reason nonetheless. So we've got to pick ourselves up, we've got to dust ourselves off, and we've got to fight for the next game, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to keep on fighting, we've got to keep on battling through these tough schedules and these tough teams that we have to face. But now we get a couple of days off. We get to go back to the drawing board. We get to go back to training. According to Billy Donovan, he has said that the Bulls are not actually training to improve. They're just doing shoot-arounds and resting guys because of how tough the schedule has been. And the schedule has been tough. No one's denying that. We've had one of the toughest schedules in the league. I think we've had 4 back-to-backs already this year, which is truly unbelievable. For 14 games being played, it's unbelievable. And again, we're going to get some of our days break now. We're going to get some of our rest, and hopefully that will do the world of difference. But at home against the Pelicans, who I thought personally, again, I thought they played well, but they weren't excellent in today's game, and neither were the Bulls. I thought this was a game we should have walked away with a win from, and I'm relatively disappointed that we did not. At home, I expect us to win this type of game. And now we have another game against them, not straight away, but I think within the next week, we will verse the Pelicans again away from home, and we're going to have to try and get a win over at their home turf. It's possible to do. We've seen that we can play well against them, but it's more easier said than done at this point now, because if we can't win at home, they're going to have the home crowd advantage at their home. And maybe guys like CJ McCollum will actually turn up to the game and play very well for them. So we left it up to chance. We lost this game. We better hope we could get a win against them in the next time out. Looking at some of those individual performances, I wanted to mention a couple of things. Obviously, DeMar DeRozan's 33 points was absolutely fantastic. Zach LaVine also had 23 points. I'm not saying Zach LaVine played badly, but again, in that second half of the game, I didn't really notice him that much. I think he got one layup in the fourth quarter, and that was about it. I didn't notice him that much. And Zach LaVine has to take responsibility for being a guy that we can turn to for offense in the fourth quarter. It can't just be DeMar. It can't even just be Vucevic. It has to be all three of them making an impact. And again, with the Pelicans, something that I've noticed is that they went to Brandon Ingram in that fourth quarter, and Brandon Ingram went absolutely bonkers in that fourth quarter, and you got to give respect to him. He got a couple of lucky bounces, great mid-range shooting, and a three-point shot as well. But they could have multiple guys they turn to for offense in the fourth. CJ McCollum is a guy that has been proven to do that. Zion Williamson is an all-star level player, and I'm sure he's been able to do that as well. He had his best quarter in the fourth quarter. Valanciunas is another guy. They have a lot of guys they could turn to. I feel like the Bulls rely too much on DeMar in the fourth. And at the end of the day, that's kind of how we lost this game as well. But anyway, I also want to give a big shout out to Patrick Williams for his 4-block night alongside of 7 points and 4 rebounds. I'd like to see him be just a tad more aggressive, but again, he was playing solid defense in today's game. It's not easy guarding Zion Williamson, and to be fair, we kept Zion quiet up until that fourth quarter. He's a very crafty guy. For someone that size, he seems to use that boundary line very, very well. And that, again, he's a solid player, ladies and gentlemen. We can't really say anything about it. The must improve for me, this is a tough one to give, to be honest. again, I always find these tough because I don't feel like the Bulls are getting blown out. I don't think one guy is truly letting us down in these types of games. Also, it was great to see Andre Drummond back on the court as well. While I remember that, I can't wait to see more of him in the future. I don't think Andre Drummond had his best game. He only had 2 points and 5 rebounds, but I refuse to give the must improve to Andre Drummond, who just returned. Maybe in the next game we'll target him out a little bit more, but in this first game, very, very hard to just say it's Andre Drummond. I'd probably give it to Javonte Green, 15 minutes, 2 points and 2 rebounds, a block as well, but not necessarily as aggressive as we've come to see from him. Only 1 from 2 from the field. That's probably the guy I would turn to for the must improve. These are becoming much harder to really predict and to give, because I do feel sorry for some of these guys as well. But at the end of the day, I think I would probably target him. My player of the game will be DeMar DeRozan. It's great to see him have a 30-point night after those 2 nights against Toronto where they basically took him out of the game. We won one of them, we lost one of them as well. But yeah, it's good to see DeMar DeRozan have a game like that, and hopefully he can continue to have games like this in the future. We're going to need DeMar DeRozan. I know we don't like to rely on one guy to really help us, but DeMar DeRozan is probably our best player. And we're going to rely on him. We're going to need him to deliver in more ways than one. And we may not like that. We may think that we do have a good enough team where we don't need to rely on DeMar DeRozan. But right now, with this stretch, we're going to need DeMar DeRozan every step of the way. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the Bulls record is 6-7, back to a -500 record, and we've got another West team to look forward to here, ladies and gentlemen. We've got the Denver Nuggets at home this time around. Now, I believe after this, we're going to go out to New Orleans and versus the Pelicans again, so that would be very interesting. Denver, interesting team, I'm not going to lie. That was a team we versed in the preseason as well. Denver currently right now are an 8-3 record, so they're going to be very tough to beat. They've got, again, Nikola Jokic there. Very, very difficult team to beat in my opinion, but we have shown we can be successful against them before. Let's see if the Chicago Bulls at home can find a way to be successful against them again. We have a good track record against Denver. Last year we beat them twice, I believe, but I believe both of them were without Nikola Jokic. I can't actually remember. And then obviously this time around, I think they're going to have Nikola Jokic. I think they're going to have Jamal Murray back as well. I'm not sure. But again, that's going to be a very interesting game. Let me know in the comments below if you think we could walk away with a win against Denver. We are competing with these teams that are considered great teams in the NBA. So I expect us to compete with Denver. Whether we walk away with a win or not, I honestly can't tell. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Have a wonderful and safe day, Bulls Nation. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.